and speak to us. That you would transform our lives in ways that bring power and meaning to who we are, to what we are doing in the world. And Lord, just ask that it is your word that we hear this morning, in spite of me or through me. For this we pray. Amen. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. There's a lot of ways to look at this passage. I could go as far as looking at world peace, though I doubt many of us here in this room have any control or power over what other nations do, let alone even our own. And so I thought that it would be more appropriate to look at how we make peace in our own lives. Some of us may be in places where we need to make peace with someone else, that we need to end the feuds or the fights within our own life, that we need to end the disappointments, the arguments that we may be having with someone else. And doing so is a way of restoring relationship. And if there's one thing that we know about Jesus and God, is that Jesus and God are all about restoring relationship. And so if you're sitting there and somebody has popped into your head of someone that you may need to make peace with, then maybe this week is a good week to start that process. To be a peacemaker means to do the work of Jesus, and sometimes that work is difficult. In fact, often the work of Jesus is difficult. If it wasn't, God wouldn't have needed to send himself down to do it, right? But being a peacemaker is something that helps bring goodness and restoration in our own lives. And if you remember, in other places when Jesus talks about forgiveness, sometimes he talks about it in ways that say that in order to receive forgiveness, we need to forgive. Perhaps even earlier in our series, the week that you didn't hear was, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy." It's a similar idea. That as people, forgiveness and peacemaking are a part of our process of learning to become like God and Jesus. And if we're going to be like God, who forgives everyone, then we also have to learn how to forgive, to make peace, to make amends. Now, each situation is different. Sometimes making peace means saying, "I'm sorry," and admitting the wrongs that you have done. Sometimes making peace is just picking up the phone and calling a person that you haven't talked to since that last big fight that you had, and trying to rekindle a relationship that has been ripped asunder. And then sometimes peace is an internal work. Because there are times in our lives where the people that we need to make peace with are people that if we allow to continue to have an impact on our lives, that it'll continue to hurt us. And yet we still need to make peace because there's still that anger, that bitterness that is in our heart from the pain that they have caused us. And in that case, peacemaking may not necessarily be reaching out to the other person, but it may be an entirely internal work within ourselves. A work of releasing that anger, that pain, hatred. A work that frees us from the toxin that has been given to us by someone else. And that's all a part of forgiveness too. And many times, in many cases, this forgiveness and this making peace is not just something we can say we do once and we're done. I mean, obviously, in the cases where we're making that phone call and we're beginning to reconnect with that person that we had that stupid fight with so long ago that we may not even remember why we were fighting. That may be something that, is a one and done thing, but the pain of the ongoing sins that are inflicted upon us, those are things that we have to get up each and every day and commit ourselves to forgiving and to letting go. And it's not even a once a day thing. It was probably a multiple times a day thing. That when we feel that pain in the pit of our stomachs, that anger over what has been done to us, that we have the opportunity to allow it to continue to fester and grow, or we have the opportunity to not fuel its fire, to not allow it to grow, but instead to help begin to quench it. And to acknowledge that by continuing to let it grow, we are continuing to allow them to inflict pain upon us and into our lives. We are allowing them to continue to have power in our lives rather than taking control from them and allowing God to heal us. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. When we can make peace with others and when we can help God make peace within ourselves, we begin to live lives that are more joyful, more full of hope, more full of the good things and the blessings that God allows us to have. We are able to more clearly see the blessings that God is giving us because we are not clouding our minds and our eyes with that anger and that pain that others have inflicted upon us. Being the children of God, the disciples of Jesus, the people who walk in his footsteps, does not mean being doormats. But it also does not mean carrying the burdens and the pains inflicted upon us with others, from others. Jesus forgave those who crucified him. Jesus forgave those who spit upon him, who mocked him. Jesus forgave those who took his word and twisted it around for their own ends. He's forgiven those who have taken his word and changed it as a way of gaining power over others and using it to promote themselves. He's endured every type of pain and abuse known to humankind, and yet he forgives, and that is what he calls us to do. I hope that we are willing to experience God's blessing of being peacemakers, whether that is fixing a relationship beyond ourselves or whether that is allowing the peace of God to begin to take over ourselves within. Because both parts are blessings. Both parts remove pain and anger from our lives and help us to live a more full and joyful and beneficial life. So hear me. For those of you who need to make peace with someone else, I want you to commit this week, maybe even today, to beginning to repair that relationship, whatever that means. Whether it's saying you're sorry and admitting that you are a part of the problem that is between you and this other person, or whether it's just making a phone call or a visit, do that. And for those of you who you have someone that you need to make peace with, but that peace needs to be an internal thing for your health and your safety, even just for your own hope. Start the process today, or continue in the process of forgiving and allowing God to begin to take away that pain, to free you from the chains that it uses to bind you down, to take away your joy. Don't let yourself get hurt, and don't let those who have hurt you continue to do so. That's not what God wants for your life. Instead, allow Him to bless you. Allow Him to give you back some of the joy, to heal some of the wound that has been caused to you. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God, who experience the fullness of His blessing, His relationship, and His forgiveness as they forgive others and receive joy upon joy from Him. Amen.